Imagine if one of the most powerful foods for supporting your body's natural defenses wasn't hidden in a laboratory, locked behind a prescription, or available only to elite athletes. Imagine if it was sitting in a grocery store. Even more surprising, what if millions of people eat this fruit regularly without realizing that scientists have spent decades studying its remarkable effects on inflammation, blood vessel health, metabolism, immune function, and even the biological environment that allows cancer cells to grow? Research suggests that this fruit contains compounds capable of influencing some of the same biological pathways that scientists have spent years trying to understand. And yet, most conversations about healthy aging rarely mention it. Today, we're exploring what the science actually says about one fruit that has captured the attention of researchers around the world, the humble pomegranate. But before we go any further, there's something important to understand. No food can magically eliminate disease. No fruit can guarantee protection from cancer. And no single ingredient can replace a healthy lifestyle. However, evidence suggests that certain foods may help support the body's natural systems in ways that become increasingly important as we age, and pomegranate may be one of the most fascinating examples. To understand why, we need to start with a process happening inside your body every single day: inflammation. Most people think inflammation is always bad, but that's not actually true. Inflammation is one of the body's most important survival mechanisms. When you cut your finger, fight an infection, or recover from exercise, inflammation helps coordinate repair. Without it, healing wouldn't happen. The problem begins when inflammation never fully switches off. Researchers often describe this as chronic low-grade inflammation. Instead of helping the body heal, it quietly persists in the background. Over time, evidence suggests this chronic inflammatory state may contribute to many age-related conditions, including cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, cognitive decline, and other chronic health challenges. What's especially concerning is that many people don't feel it happening. There's often no dramatic symptom, no flashing warning sign. It can develop slowly over years. And this is where nutrition becomes incredibly important. Scientists have discovered that certain foods appear to interact with inflammatory pathways throughout the body. Some dietary patterns seem to promote inflammation, others appear to help regulate it. But researchers later discovered something surprising. The conversation wasn't just about inflammation anymore, it was also about blood vessels. For decades, scientists focused heavily on cancer cells themselves. The assumption seems straightforward. If cancer is the problem, then the cancer cell must be the target. Yet the real discovery came years later. Researchers began paying attention to something surrounding those cells: their food supply, their support network, their access to oxygen and nutrients. In other words, their blood vessels. This concept became known as angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the process through which the body creates new blood vessels. It's something your body does naturally. Without angiogenesis, wounds couldn't heal, muscles couldn't recover, tissues couldn't regenerate. Healthy angiogenesis is essential for life. But scientists have observed that abnormal angiogenesis may also play a role in various diseases. When blood vessel growth becomes dysregulated, it can contribute to unwanted biological changes. This insight transformed how many researchers think about health and disease. Instead of focusing solely on disease itself, scientists began exploring how the body's internal environment influences what happens over time. And this is where pomegranate entered the scientific spotlight. Researchers examining pomegranates found that they contain an impressive collection of bioactive compounds. Among the most studied are polyphenols, anthocyanins, tannins, and compounds called punicalagins. These naturally occurring substances appear to possess powerful antioxidant activity. Now, antioxidants are often discussed in health conversations, but the concept is frequently oversimplified. Many people imagine antioxidants as tiny superheroes fighting dangerous molecules. The reality is more nuanced. Every second of every day, your cells generate energy. As a natural consequence, molecules called reactive oxygen species are produced. In appropriate amounts, these molecules serve useful biological functions, but excessive oxidative stress may damage cells, proteins, and DNA over time. Researchers believe maintaining balance is the key. And this is where antioxidant rich foods may play a supportive role. Pomegranates happen to rank among the most polyphenol rich fruits studied. Evidence suggests these compounds may help support the body's natural antioxidant defenses. But that's not the most interesting part. Scientists notice something unusual. The benefits associated with pomegranate consumption often appear to extend beyond simple antioxidant activity. Researchers began investigating how pomegranate compounds interact with inflammation-related pathways throughout the body. Several studies have explored markers associated with inflammation and oxidative stress. While results vary, and no food works identically for everyone, evidence suggests that pomegranate consumption may help support a healthier inflammatory balance. And the implications could be significant because inflammation doesn't operate in isolation. It affects virtually every major system in the body: your heart, your brain, your metabolism, your immune system, even how you age. Most people never hear about what happened next. Researchers started looking at what pomegranate might be doing inside blood vessels themselves. Your blood vessels are far more than simple pipes carrying blood. They are living tissues. They constantly communicate with surrounding cells. They regulate circulation, nutrient delivery, oxygen transport, and countless biological processes. One critical layer lining blood vessels is called the endothelium. Think of it as a sophisticated biological interface. When the endothelium functions well, blood vessels remain flexible and responsive. When endothelial function declines, cardiovascular health may be affected. Studies have suggested that compounds found in pomegranate may help support endothelial function and vascular health. Researchers have observed effects involving nitric oxide, a signaling molecule that helps blood vessels relax and expand. This is important because healthy circulation influences nearly every organ in the body. Your brain depends on it, your muscles depend on it, your heart depends on it, and healthy aging depends on it. However, that's still not the most intriguing discovery. Scientists investigating longevity eventually uncovered another fascinating piece of the puzzle. The answer wasn't actually in the fruit itself, it was in the gut. Your digestive system contains trillions of microorganisms. Collectively, they form what researchers call the gut microbiome. For years, scientists underestimated its importance. Today, many researchers consider it one of the most influential factors affecting long-term health. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. When certain compounds from pomegranates reach the gut, microbes can transform them into other biologically active molecules. One of the most studied is a compound called Urolithin A. Researchers became interested in Urolithin A because studies suggested it may influence mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are often described as the power plants of cells. They help generate the energy required for nearly every biological function. But mitochondria don't remain perfect forever. As we age, damaged mitochondria can accumulate. Scientists have observed that cellular systems responsible for cleaning up these dysfunctional components may become less efficient over time. Research has explored whether compounds derived from pomegranate metabolism might help support cellular renewal processes involved in mitochondrial quality control. This area of science remains active and evolving, but the findings have generated considerable excitement among longevity researchers. Why? Because energy production is fundamental to aging. When cellular energy systems perform efficiently, tissues may function more effectively. When those systems decline, many age-related challenges become more likely. And that's not limited to muscles. The brain is extraordinarily dependent on energy. In fact, despite representing only a small percentage of body weight, the brain consumes a remarkable amount of energy every day. This brings us to another area where researchers have focused their attention: brain health. Many adults assume memory decline is simply an unavoidable consequence of aging. Yet, scientists increasingly view cognitive aging as a process influenced by multiple lifestyle factors. Nutrition appears to be one of them. Inflammation, oxidative stress, blood vessel function, metabolic health, sleep quality, and physical activity all appear interconnected. Researchers investigating pomegranate have explored how its compounds may interact with pathways associated with cognitive function and brain health. Some studies suggest potential benefits related to blood flow, oxidative stress regulation, and neuroprotective mechanisms. While much remains to be learned, the findings highlight a broader lesson. What supports heart health often supports brain health as well, because the two systems are deeply connected. And this realization changes how we think about aging. Instead of viewing the body as separate parts, researchers increasingly see an interconnected network. What affects inflammation may affect circulation. What affects circulation may affect brain function. What affects metabolism may affect longevity. And this systems-based perspective is transforming modern health science. But perhaps the most important question remains: how does all of this apply to everyday life? Because scientific discoveries only matter if they can be translated into practical decisions. The good news is that pomegranate is not an exotic intervention. It is simply food. And that distinction matters. When researchers like Dr. William Li discuss food as medicine, they are not suggesting that food replaces medical care. Rather, the idea is that everyday dietary choices continuously influence biological processes throughout life. Every meal becomes an opportunity, not for perfection, not for extreme restriction, but for support. Pomegranate can be enjoyed in several forms. Whole seeds provide fiber along with beneficial plant compounds. Fresh fruit offers a nutrient-dense option that fits easily into many dietary patterns. Pomegranate juice has also been extensively studied, although portions matter because juices contain concentrated natural sugars and fewer fibers than the whole fruit. Interestingly, some researchers believe that consuming a variety of colorful plant foods may create benefits that extend beyond any single fruit. This concept is often called food synergy. Instead of relying on one superfood, the body may benefit from diverse combinations of bioactive compounds working together. And that may be one of the most valuable lessons from pomegranate research. The goal is not finding a magical fruit. The goal is building a biological environment that supports health over decades. Because the science of longevity isn't really about living forever. It's about extending health span, the years during which we remain active, independent, mentally sharp, and physically capable. And the choices that influence health span are often surprisingly ordinary. The foods we eat, the sleep we get, the exercise we perform, the stress we manage, the habits we repeat every day. Pomegranate simply offers a fascinating example of how something seemingly simple can interact with profoundly complex biological systems. And researchers believe we've only begun to understand its full potential. As scientists continued investigating pomegranate, another question emerged. If this fruit appears to influence inflammation, blood vessels, oxidative stress, and cellular energy, could those effects also have implications for metabolic health? The answer is far more interesting than many people realize. For decades, metabolism was often reduced to a simple equation: calories in, calories out. While energy balance remains important, researchers now understand that metabolism involves a vast network of hormones, signaling molecules, immune responses, gut microbes, and cellular communication systems. And this is where inflammation reappears in the story. Scientists have observed that chronic inflammation may interfere with normal metabolic processes. When inflammatory signals remain elevated for long periods, cells may become less responsive to important hormonal messages. Over time, this can affect how the body handles nutrients and regulates energy. Researchers studying pomegranate compounds have explored their potential interactions with pathways involved in metabolic function. Evidence suggests that polyphenols may help support healthy cellular signaling and metabolic resilience. What's remarkable is that many of these pathways overlap. The same biological systems associated with healthy blood vessels often influence metabolic health. The same mechanisms involved in inflammation can affect energy regulation. The same dietary patterns linked with longevity often support metabolic wellness as well. And this reveals something important. The body rarely operates in isolated compartments. Everything is connected. However, researchers discovered another unexpected piece of the puzzle. The conversation wasn't only about preventing problems, it was also about preserving function. As people age, maintaining physical performance becomes increasingly important. Not necessarily athletic performance, simply the ability to move comfortably, to remain independent, to climb stairs, to carry groceries, to travel, to enjoy life. Scientists often refer to this as functional longevity. Living longer matters. Living well matters even more. One of the strongest predictors of healthy aging is muscle function. Yet many adults begin losing muscle mass gradually after middle age. Researchers call this age-related decline sarcopenia. The process can be subtle at first. A little less strength, a little less endurance, a little slower recovery. Then, over years and decades, the effects become more noticeable. Scientists believe inflammation, mitochondrial health, circulation, nutrition, and physical activity all play important roles. And this is where the research surrounding pomegranate-derived compounds attracted attention. As studies examined urolithin A and mitochondrial function, researchers became interested in how cellular energy production might influence muscle performance during aging. While research continues to evolve, findings have helped stimulate broader conversations about preserving physical function across the lifespan. And this leads to a powerful realization. Healthy aging isn't merely about avoiding illness, it's about preserving capability, the ability to do what matters most to you. Yet the story becomes even more fascinating when we look at the immune system. Many people think of immunity as something that matters only during cold and flu season, but the immune system influences far more than protection from infections. It plays a central role in inflammation, tissue repair, surveillance of abnormal cells, and overall health maintenance. Every day, immune cells move throughout the body, constantly assessing their environment. Researchers often describe this process as biological surveillance. The immune system helps identify threats, remove damaged cells, and support recovery processes. As we age, immune function naturally changes. Scientists sometimes refer to aspects of this process as immunosenescence. Certain immune responses may become less efficient. Inflammatory signaling patterns may shift. Recovery may take longer. Researchers investigating nutrition and healthy aging frequently explore how dietary patterns influence these processes. And pomegranate has become part of that discussion. Evidence suggests that compounds found in pomegranate may interact with pathways involved in immune regulation and inflammatory balance. Again, this doesn't mean the fruit acts as a treatment or a cure. Rather, it highlights how nutrition can participate in the body's ongoing maintenance systems. And that's a crucial distinction. The goal of evidence-based wellness isn't to search for magic solutions. It's to understand how everyday choices influence biological processes over time. Yet perhaps the most widely discussed aspect of pomegranate research involves cancer biology. And this is where careful language becomes especially important. When headlines claim a food can starve cancer, they often oversimplify a complex scientific topic. The reality is more nuanced. Researchers have spent years studying how foods may influence biological environments associated with cancer development. This does not mean a food eliminates cancer, nor does it mean eating a specific fruit prevents cancer with certainty. Human biology is far too complex for such claims. What scientists have investigated is how dietary compounds may influence processes that abnormal cells rely upon. One of those processes is angiogenesis. As we discussed earlier, angiogenesis is the growth of blood vessels. Healthy angiogenesis is essential, but abnormal angiogenesis may contribute to disease progression in certain contexts. Researchers studying pomegranate have explored how its bioactive compounds interact with pathways involved in angiogenesis and cellular signaling. Laboratory studies and experimental models have generated intriguing findings. These findings have helped scientists better understand how nutrition may influence the biological environment surrounding cells. And this reflects a larger shift occurring throughout modern medicine. Increasingly, researchers are asking not only how to address disease once it appears, they're also asking how to support healthier biological environments long before problems emerge. This approach aligns closely with preventive medicine. The idea is simple. Many chronic conditions develop over years or even decades. Small influences accumulate. Lifestyle patterns accumulate. Nutritional choices accumulate. Sleep habits accumulate. Physical activity accumulates. Stress accumulates. Eventually, those accumulated factors shape health outcomes. And this may be one of the most empowering messages in all of longevity science, because it means the future is not determined by a single moment. It's influenced by countless daily decisions. Most people never hear about another surprising discovery related to pomegranate. Its benefits may depend partly on who is eating it. That may sound strange, but it's an important lesson from modern nutrition science. Researchers have learned that individuals can respond differently to the same food. Genetics may play a role, lifestyle may play a role, the gut microbiome may play a role, even sleep quality and physical activity may influence outcomes. This helps explain why nutrition science can sometimes seem confusing. One study reports benefits, another study shows smaller effects, a third study produces different results. Rather than viewing this as a contradiction, scientists increasingly recognize the importance of personalization. Human biology varies, and understanding that variation may become one of the defining frontiers of future healthcare. In fact, some researchers believe personalized nutrition could eventually transform how people approach healthy aging. Imagine dietary recommendations tailored not only to general guidelines, but also to individual biology. Imagine understanding how your microbiome responds to certain foods. Imagine optimizing dietary patterns based on personal responses rather than broad assumptions. While we're not fully there yet, the science is moving in that direction. And pomegranate provides a fascinating example of why, because many of its most interesting effects appear to involve interactions between food, microbes, metabolism, inflammation, and cellular health. Not isolated pathways, integrated systems. And integrated systems require integrated thinking. This brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions in health and wellness, the belief that one food changes everything. Research simply doesn't support that idea. No single fruit creates health. No supplement creates longevity. No dietary trend guarantees success. Instead, health emerges from patterns, patterns repeated consistently, patterns maintained over years, patterns that support the body's natural ability to adapt, repair, and function. Pomegranate may be a valuable part of those patterns, but it works best within a larger framework, a framework that includes regular physical activity, adequate sleep, stress management, social connection, nutrient-rich foods, and avoidance of harmful habits. When these elements work together, their combined effects may become far more powerful than any individual intervention. And that principle appears repeatedly throughout longevity research. The most successful aging strategies are rarely extreme. They are sustainable, consistent, practical, and surprisingly simple. As researchers examine populations known for exceptional longevity around the world, they often find common themes: plant-rich diets, regular movement, strong social relationships, purpose, healthy sleep, stress resilience, and a lifestyle that supports long-term metabolic and cardiovascular health. Pomegranate fits naturally within many of these patterns, not because it is magical, but because it represents the broader principle of using nutrient-dense foods to support biological systems. And perhaps that's the most important takeaway of all. The science isn't really about a fruit. The fruit is simply a doorway into a larger understanding of how the body works. It's a reminder that food contains information, not just calories, not just vitamins, but complex biological signals that interact with the systems that govern health. Every bite participates in a conversation with your body. a conversation involving cells, hormones, blood vessels, microbes, immune function, and metabolism. Most of that conversation happens silently. You don't feel it, you don't notice it. Yet, day after day, year after year, those signals accumulate, and eventually, they help shape how we age. This perspective changes the way we think about prevention. Instead of waiting for health to decline, we begin supporting it proactively. Instead of focusing exclusively on disease, we focus on resilience. Instead of asking, how do I live longer? We begin asking, how do I remain healthier for longer? Those are not identical questions. And the second question may be the more important one, because longevity without vitality is not the goal. The goal is maintaining energy, mobility, independence, mental clarity, and quality of life for as many years as possible. That is what health span is all about. And according to a growing body of research, the foundations of health span are built through ordinary daily choices. The foods on our plates, the habits in our routines, the actions we repeat, the environments we create, the relationships we nurture, the priorities we set. Pomegranate reminds us that extraordinary biology can be found inside ordinary foods, that the natural world still contains discoveries worth exploring, and that modern science continues uncovering connections between nutrition and long-term health that previous generations never fully understood. Will pomegranate stop inflammation completely? No. Will it eliminate cancer? No. Will it guarantee longevity? No. But evidence suggests it may support several biological processes associated with healthy aging, cardiovascular function, metabolic health, and cellular resilience. And when combined with a broader healthy lifestyle, those small influences may become meaningful over time. Because health is rarely determined by dramatic moments, it is shaped by consistent actions. The meal you choose today, the walk you take today, the sleep you prioritize tonight, the habits you repeat tomorrow. Each one may seem insignificant in isolation, yet together they form the trajectory of a lifetime. And that's why understanding the science matters, not because it offers shortcuts, not because it promises perfection, but because it reveals something profoundly hopeful. Our daily choices influence our future more than we often realize. The decisions we make today may seem small, but over years and decades, those choices can shape how we age, how we feel, and how long we remain healthy. That's why understanding the science matters.